Welcome, welcome, welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Asheville Science of Mind 102 class. Yay. Class 6 on the internet, class 12 in the room, and we always begin in treatment, so take a deep breath. And let it go. And continue to breathe deeply and easily, filling your body up with oxygen and light and love and letting go of anything that is no longer serving you. And in that state of conscious awareness, we know that there is one power, one presence, one love, one light, one creative force, one absolute first cause, and that is all that there is and more than there is. I know that each and every one, each thing, each moment is a manifestation of the divine in form, and that each of us are manifestations of spirit. And so I know for each and every one of us that the wisdom of spirit is our wisdom now, the intelligence of the divine is our intelligence now. And we get whatever it is we need to get out of this class. We take these teachings and we use them to create lives that get better and better and better. And so with great gratitude for Ernest Holmes, happy birthday Ernest Holmes, January 21st, Center for Spiritual Living Asheville, and everyone in the sound of my voice, I simply release this into all that God is, because I know that God is all, as together we say, and so it is. Come on in, come on in. So before we get started, we have a guest for a few moments tonight, John Waterhouse.
Congratulations on being in class. It's a wonderful class. You're beautiful people, and I have an opportunity for you. As you know, I'm the person that teaches the practitioner second year class. I have 8 students in that class, and they are in the process of doing real life treatments for individuals. And I'm looking for people that might want to come, and we do this on themes. So before you raise your hand, and I'm glad you're raising your hand, that's very good, but what I'm looking for are people that have an interest in having treatment work done around money and finances. I thought you'd raise your hand on that one. So I'm going to pass it to Breezy, and you guys, put your hands up again. Let's see who's got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's great. So put your name and a phone number contact just in case, and if anybody else wants to do it and wants to add their name to the list, that's fine too, as an alternate, but you pick the time and be here a little before that time tomorrow night, and a practitioner will have a session with you. Yes,
what time tomorrow night?
They're on the sheet.
I mean, is it class time?
It starts at 6:40.
Yeah, that was
7
my
to
It's
9.
over at 8:30.
Huh?
It's over at
7 to 9
8:30.
is our class time.
Yeah, if you're in Tuesday night class, that's going to be a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, do you think if we signed up for the 6:41, it would be done by 7?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, but there's only, how many slots is there for that one?
There's
How many
2.
slots? There's 2 640 slots.
Does anyone else want it, or can I claim that?
Claim it. Claim what's yours.
No.
They only have 2 people doing it at a time.
Well, you know, and I don't know. Sally would absolutely freak out if you slipped out of class for 20 minutes. I don't know.
She's pretty prompt timing wise, so.
Well, it's not about starting time. We're doing it all through the evening. So,
Oh, that's.
no, decide. Okay. 8. All right. It's not. Oh, and it's not tomorrow. It's a week from tomorrow.
Oh.
A week from tomorrow.
That's important.
It is important, isn't it? All right. Last time we did it, we actually had a practitioner come, so practitioners are welcome. We had someone who was at the center for 1 visit, and that, so I loved having that broad spectrum of perspective. That was great. So yes.
On the paper, it says for tomorrow night, for
Yeah,
January 22nd.
we changed it. It's a
Okay.
week from that. But thank you for noting that. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Have a great class, guys.
Hey, John. Wonderful, wonderful treatment celebrations. What have you got to celebrate from your treatment work? From last week, the week before, a month ago, treatment celebrations.
I'm alive.
Yay, Dan's alive. And we're happy about that.
possible people coming
You have
to
3
phone.
more workers there. So what have you got now, 5 or 6?
Well, these are possibles, so they have to make it through my drilling and screening
Evaluation.
and all that.
Yeah, you the screamer. Yay, Amanda! Yay. Who else? Boy, you just did nothing all week, did you? Your treatment partners were no good. You had no demonstrations. Ophia.
I was treating Debbie for prosperity, and I got a refund check in the mail for $180 from my insurance company.
Insurance refund out of $180. Yay! And that is because when the practitioner treats, they treat the practitioner in that knowing of mind with Debbie. But you get what you treat for. That's also why it's so important that you not curse someone or wish harm on someone, because you get that. So be mindful of how you use the power of mind. Who else? Treatment celebrations. Ophia.
Well, Jeremy, who was here last time, for his first time, and he actually said he might not have transportation anymore, but he was trying for the first time and treating me for joy, and I had forgotten about it because we were just kind of telling him briefly how to do it, and I didn't think about it. And the next day, at the end of the day, I was like, I've been in such a great mood all day, and I couldn't understand. I'm like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, he treated me for joy, so he did a good job.
Yay, Jeremy. Jeremy. Good, good. Who else? Jane.
I worked with Debbie, and so I treated for her and she treated for me, and then she used my treatment. And so I was the recipient of my own treatment.
Wonderful.
Yeah, no, I felt really pretty darn good about it.
Yay. Yay. Stephen.
We had a guest treater. Because we were in a break. And I received a new client on Friday night.
I can't hear you.
I got a new client on Friday night, so
Is that what you were treated for?
well-being, type treatment, money. all
And you
that.
got a new client? Yay. Yay. All right. Who else?
Carrie found 3 cents.
Yay, Carrie. Carrie, that was a boundary issue, Dan. Okay, so again, I want you to train yourselves to focus on the demonstrations of your treatments so that you can not only anchor in the building of faith that says we treat this and it happens, but so that you can see the blessings that are showing up in your life and you can fine-tune your treatments. This morning I had John treat for me that the giving letters were out. And by 3 o'clock, they were all printed and ready to go, except that was only a small part of the whole process. And I chuckled and thought, if I had thought through it, I would have said, no, that the giving letters are out, that all the records are out, that all of the reports are out, and that everything is stuffed in the envelopes and in the mail. But I didn't do that. I said, oh, just treat that these are out. And so that's what I got. I got that, but that's not really what I wanted. So even after all of these decades, it's incumbent upon me to think about what I want before I just jump into the treatment. And one of the ways that I do that is I treat and then I see what I get and then I think, well, is that really the best use of my treatment time, or could I have used it better if I had thought for a second before I just ran into it? So I also want you to start thinking about what you're treating for. Is that really for your highest and best? Is that really what you want? Or is it just an emotional stopgap measure? Okay? RJ.
Well, that brings up the thought I'll call appendix treatments, that you treat for something, you get that, and say, what I really want is this, you just retreat. Change your treat, to fulfill what you really are.
Right. It's like people. Haven't you ever treated for a relationship and then you got one? You went, well, wait a minute, what I really wanted was this. And so you get an opportunity to fine tune it to be clearer and to retreat. Yeah, good, 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 good. So your reading for tonight, do you have any questions about your reading? You were doing the matching of the mental cause and the condition. We were getting all Louise Hay on everybody. Understanding that all of this is subjective and it only means what you say it means, and if what something means to you may be completely different than what it means to someone else. Debbie. Okay. Did you play with it? Did you have fun? Did you learn anything about yourself?
Are you talking about from like the matching from the
Yeah,
calls?
matching things.
I mean, I think that I did based on that's fine. Where it says like cold is it's like mental confusion, which that wasn't it, but I mean fine.
No, they say that a cold is mental
Yeah, mental confusion. Yeah, unfulfilled desire and conflict though, and I resonated more with the unfulfilled desire part, and so my treatment was for like clarity and safety and stuff like that. So like, I mean, I feel like I'm getting there. I just don't know how to explain that, which is why I didn't raise my hand. So I feel like I like started to realize like, you know, I do have this unfulfilled desire with the job that I have, and you know, I'm starting to be more clear, I guess.
I love treatments for clarity. I hold clarity as my highest value, because when I'm clear, I can do anything. And when I'm clear, I know what to do, which is equally as important. So treating for clarity and safety is great. Yeah. Good. Ophia.
That reminded me of a little side thing. I was kind of starting to panic. I had a couple rough days of events, but I was starting to feel my heart rate going up and, you know, kind of feeling cloudy and stuff, and I used your line of be still and know that I am God, and it really helped a lot. So, and I added on it, when in doubt, zoom out.
Okay.
But yeah, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yay. Who else? What did you learn about yourself with these ideas that there could be something specifically that's going on inside of you that kind of takes you to a certain place? We talked about constriction and how that affects your body, how fear affects your body, how stinginess affects your body, how squeezing onto, holding on to what you have, whatever it is, affects your body. Did you get some of those examples? Did you see how that works? Are you trying to say something?
Well, I knew about Louise Hay. I read her before I knew about Ernest, and so I've looked at the whole, that, you know, what you're feeling is causing what kind of illness, and because I tend to not really acknowledge my feelings so much, it makes me look at it whenever I get sick. I have to sit down and think back a little bit about what it is that caused it, because it's usually something that I'm really upset about that I'm not acknowledging that I'm upset about,
Right.
pretty much always.
So the only way that your body can release that, tears, an emotional release, is to act out, to somatize, to get sick and to act it out through your body.
And it's usually always anger. I mean, I don't have a problem with sadness or crying, obviously. I cried all day yesterday, but usually it's for some reason I have trouble.
You're not allowed to get angry?
That's not, yeah.
You know what a wonderful thing is? To take a couple of dozen eggs, not Carrie's eggs, just cheapo eggs, out into the woods and pick them up one at a time and yell no as you throw them against a tree.
That sounds like great fun.
It's fun. Usually it's good to do if nobody's around. You can yell anything you want. You can have addendums to the no. And then you just walk away and all the little animals come and eat the eggs and carry the shells away. Jane,
I've been working on being toxic. I have decided that when I get angry, which is a lot of the time, that's toxic.
what a breakthrough. You had a cat just so you could get angry at Tipper.
Oh, I didn't get angry.
Yes,
Oh,
you
got
did.
angry all the time.
Get angry.
Yes, you did. You're right, when you get angry, it's toxic. It'll kill you. It'll make you poor.
So whenever I get angry now, I think, I just don't want to be toxic.
Yay,
Yes.
yay, Jane. Just don't be toxic. Good. I know people that use anger to motivate themselves. I know people who use anger to manipulate people around them. That they think that anger is a really viable energy to use, except you pay such a high price for it.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with safety issues, that I'm in control if I'm angry, and I am controlling everyone around me if I'm angry. And if I just use vulnerability and love and communication, then I would be vulnerable, and therefore I would not be safe. So in those cases, I would encourage you to treat for safety. That you can be who you are without having to cover yourself up with anger or criticism or frustration or upset of whatever kind. And I also know some people who use, sadness and victimization and all of that equally to manipulate people around them and to control their conditions. So look at what's going on, track it back inside of yourself, see how you wrote the script, set the stage, produced and directed the play to create that in your life, and then ask yourself, is that what you want? Because you can just as easily change what you're putting out and have the circumstances change. I loved my phrase yesterday, discipline your cause and you'll discipline your effect. So rather than running around and trying to get all of the outer things in your life set the way you want them, discipline your thought, discipline your cause, and then watch how the things in your life show up the way you want them. And if something's showing up not the way you want it, look inside of yourself and just be honest enough to say, how did I do that? It doesn't have to be the list that you're drawing little lines from. Some of those I'm not sure are that great of an idea at all, and some of them, they sound like the exact same cause manifesting as all of these different effects, which it does, but you are the one who is the detective to your life. So you are the one who can find out what is going on inside of you that is creating the experiences that you have in your life. Got that?
Yep.
Good. One of the things you're going to read this coming week is about stuff. The will of God. The will of God. Has anybody ever heard that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if it's God's will, it'll happen. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. It'll come to me. If it's meant to be, it'll come to me. What, Breezy?
I had a question on the other thing, that you just did. This week, on my thing, it's like everything came to fruition that was the opposite of what I asked for in treatment. And so I'm trying to figure out, I kept doing treatment, but I don't know.
You know
what I
when,
was doing
have
for
you
it.
ever grown a garden, Breezy?
I've tried.
Anybody here ever grow a garden?
Anybody what?
Grow a garden. Have you ever grown a garden?
Yes.
You put a seed under the ground, and the seed takes in moisture and it swells up and it starts to split and push out a little a leaf. What is the first thing that comes up when you put a seed in the ground? Sprouts?
A bump.
Dirt, the soil.
Taproot.
Taproot, a sprout. Actually, the first thing that comes up, those of you who have been in my class before, is a little dirt. And if you've seen gardens, especially in this clay soil here, it It actually, you can look down the row and see the ground pushing up and breaking as the seed is starting to push up above the ground. So Breezy, you got a little dirt coming up. Congratulations, something's growing. You know, you can either see it as a blessing or you can say, oh, what am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. You've got a little dirt coming up. Life's dirty. You know, clean it up. Your minds are dirty. That's why we brainwash them here. We teach you how to think the thoughts you want to think, to have the life you want to have. And if that washes your thought process, great. Great, great, great. RJ.
But there are many more seeds in the ground, so maybe if we're not focused on just growing that one seed, all those others are equally coming up at the same time. So maybe that's a lesson on.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
It's on focus, you know. We have many things going on in our minds, so we're propagating everything in our minds.
Back to what I want to talk about, the will of God. I know that when I was a kid growing up in the Methodist church, it was all about this anthropomorphic deity outside of me that was in charge of my life, specifically whether to grant or deny what I wanted. And so if I wanted something and it was not the will of God, then it would not happen no matter what I did. And sometimes in metaphysics, we translate that a little bit. We translate it to, well, if it's for my highest and best. Well, if it's for the good of all concerned. Well, if I am in alignment with that. If I have done the work that I need to do to have that. And all of that is a crock. All of that is the same, put metaphysical words on an old idea that is justifying why we don't get to have what we want to have. Now, if you think about this idea that whatever spirit is, it's a unity, it's a oneness, and that oneness includes all creation, but it is not limited by creation, meaning that it is the formless within which is all form. It's beyond that. If there is this oneness going on, and that oneness can only be for health and wholeness and expansion and love and joy, it can only be for that, then how can the will of God be against its own nature? How could the will of God be that I'm God and I'm going to be for infinite expansion and growth and love and harmony and peace, but I'm also going to be for your limitation and suffering and struggle? How can that work? It can't. Whatever God is, God cannot go against its own nature. It can't go against itself. And we, being individualizations, manifested points of spirit, we are that nature of the divine. And so if we have some kind of a desire that we want to live our lives with more joy, then the infinite joy of spirit is in alignment with that desire for us to live in more joy. And that will of God must be our will. And our will must be the will of God. And this is important to me because a lot of people have been hooked for a long time into this idea that says there is an outside keeper of the universe and keeper of all good, and it knows better than I what I should have. Or it knows that inside of my closets I've got some deep, dark secrets, and so I can't have the joy-filled life that I want because I have those, the same thing as black marks against my soul, original sin, that whole kind of paradigm that says there's something wrong with us. But when you can get this idea that says, how can the will of spirit not be for the oak tree to leaf out in the spring? How can the will of nature, of life, of love be against the flourishing of, pick anything, of a tree, of a garden, of an ocean, of the stars being in their brilliance, of the sunrise, of the rainbow. I mean, how can that not be for a greater expression of health and wholeness and prosperity and joy and love? It has to be, so think about it. If you want to use that kind of languaging, then God's will must be, God's will can only be for your health, for your wholeness, for your love, for your joy, for your perfection to manifest itself in every area of your life. And when you've got all of that mojo going on for you, then it's easy to take the next step to everything in the universe comes together in concert and harmony for my good. Every door is open, my way is made clear. Everything that I need, I have. I move forward easily and joyfully in life because I've got all of that support of the entire universe, because the will of God must be for my good. Otherwise, you have forces at work on an absolute level that are in conflict with themselves, and life isn't going to hang together. It's just not going to happen. We don't have infinite opposing forces. We have a oneness. And what are the qualities of that oneness? Peace, power, beauty, joy, love, light, life, wisdom, prosperity. All of that has to be the will of whatever God is for you. And I invite you to ponder that for a little bit and think about this idea that there are forces at work on your behalf to lift you up and to put you where you want to be, and it does not matter what other circumstances are going on. You have got the entire divinity, the entire godness of it all on your side. There's only one side, you know, and that can only be for that which is for your highest and best. So if you think about something and go, oh dear, I don't know if I should want that. That's just maybe overstating my place. Maybe it's too big for my britches. Maybe I don't deserve that. Think about that. The only thing that God can do is support you in your joy. That's the only thing that God can do, and God can do it pretty good. There's a whole lot of mojo going on with that. Troy.
Barbara, could you give us an example of a conflict between what we desire and the will of God? What would a conflict be?
If there could be a conflict, or if I...
You know, we want to flow with the will of God. We want to be in the will of God in harmony.
You are the will of God.
Well, then we would be in peace. We would be in our power. We would live in beauty, be in joy, love everyone and everything.
Right.
Be a being of light, experience life. We would live in prosperity. We would live in success. We would live in harmony. All of that.
Right.
I think that we get in conflict, but it's not conflict with the will of God, because the will of God is still for our good. So even when we go, I hate you, you dirty, rotten, rack and fratchet, I'm still supported by all that God is, because it is, oh, Barbara, I'm loving you and supporting you in creating your reality, in learning how to use the power of thought, in manifesting your experience, being, you know, having the effect from your cause. So I'm not against the will of God. The will of God is not against me, but I'm creating hell on earth by focusing on that separation and upset in my life, that anger that we talk about. So we can't be, God's will can never be against us, no matter what's going on. We are the beloved, in whom it is well pleased, in very dualistic biblical language. And it's something to ponder, that the only thing that God can want is our happiness, our joy, our love, our health, our wholeness. That's the only thing, because God can't go against its own nature. It can't want expansion on the one hand and contraction on the other hand. Life on the one hand and death on the other hand. It can't do that.
I guess I was just trying to understand, if we're out of the flow, how did we get there?
Through our own limitation.
Through false thinking and so
Right.
forth.
We stand in the light and close our eyes and say it's darkness. We can convince ourselves that it's dark. But it doesn't mean that the light is gone. You've had kids, haven't you?
No, I haven't had the pleasure, but I've been a stepfather.
So you have a toddler that is in the grocery store and wants the bag of M&Ms. And you're not gonna give the toddler the bag of M&Ms. So the toddler lays down and starts screaming bloody murder. And maybe not the first child, but certainly the second or third or fourth kid. It's like, that's all right, sweetie, you just go ahead and do what you need to do, and go ahead and scream, and you'll get over it. You're still not gonna get M&Ms because I love you, and I'm not going to go against what I believe is health and wholeness and safety for you, and you'll work it out. And so I feel like we have freedom to kick and scream and focus on the negative and create pain and suffering, but it never changes this idea of absolute love and support that we have from or through life. And that's important for me because I grew up that there was a guy on a cloud that did not like me, particularly me, that there was something wrong with me, that I would never get out of my circumstances, and I would never have the life that I intuitively knew people should have. And that was just never going to happen because it was not God's will that Barbara Floyd prosper and be in her joy. It was never going to happen. And so for me to actually think about the idea that the only thing that the universe can do is to support me in my joy, in my happiness in this lifetime, in my freedom. That's the only thing that it can do. It can't do anything else because it can't go against itself. For me, that's very healing, and it's very comforting, and it's very uplifting, and it also gives me that little extra boost to say, go for a little bit more. There's no limit on principle. There's only limit in my own thinking, in my own self. I'm the only one that limits myself. Maybe I should go for a little bit more. Go for a little bit more. Go for a little bit more. Instead of the old conversation that used to be, oh, well, don't you think you've had enough? I mean, don't you think that you've got a pretty good life? I think you've gotten as much as you really, you just pull it back a little bit. No, go for a little bit more. Go for a little bit more. Go for a little bit more. Be a little bit more happy. Be a little bit more healthy. Be a little bit more joyous. Create better stuff. Because the entire universe is saying, what do you want? It is my pleasure. That's all that I can do. It's my nature to give to you. All I can do is support you in everything that you want. Does that make sense, Jane? You've had your hand up a long time.
Yeah, I know. In a football game, how does it work when one team knows that God is working for the good of that team, and the opposite team is thinking the same thing?
Well, I'm not saying you can use this to manipulate the divine for your team to win, but all that you are as a person is being loved and supported by the universe. And so as you are more in alignment with that, your life gets better and better and better. And I would believe that Tom Brady is working on his head the same way that Michael Phelps was in the Olympics. He's working on his head to be in alignment with this idea that every pass he throws is going to be caught and that the winning of this championship game is his. But you're not taking the power of the universe and cramming it down into your little preferences. What you're doing is you're saying, I am supported and uplifted in all that I do. One football player is going to create an experience by getting, what's it called when they fire them? They get cut by getting cut and having their life path open up in a different way. Another football player is going to create their joy by going into coaching. Or another football player is going to create their path by getting hit on the head. You know, you can't take the power of the universe and look at it so narrowly that I'm going to insist that this works out in my favor when the person next to me is insisting that it works out just the opposite. What I know is that there is an infinite presence and a power that lifts me over all obstacles, answers every question, opens every door, and plays, music as I walk by, and yay, Barbara, go Barbara, rah, 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 Barbara, that I've got that. And I can use it any way I want.
Well, so if my team is losing, I should be quite thrilled.
You might as well be thrilled, it's just a game you're watching. It's more important that you be thrilled with the way your life is going. And to know that you are lifted up. See, what we do is we say, oh, my life would be great if my team won. I mean, it's just a metaphor. If I had this amount of money, if this deal goes through, if this person likes me, if I get married, if I get this car, my life would be great if I had that.
Yeah.
And then we've taken all of the opportunity of life and crammed it into our narrow focus, fear-based, of micromanagement of the creative power of the universe, that it has to look like I think it's going to look in order for me to feel safe enough to smile for a couple of minutes. And that is such a limited use of this teaching. When we can just know that everything is working out great, only good can come from this, today's the best day ever, life is unfolding gloriously, and then just go and live our lives knowing that if one door closes, it's just because 3 more are already open, and I can't turn around and see them until I stop beating on the closed door, and I turn around and go, oh, wow, look at all that good that's trying to chase me down. Instead of trying to micromanage. Like people say, well, if you're so powerful, stop the sun from rising. It's such a limited viewpoint of infinite power, of infinite presence. I'm going to try to pit myself to prove my power, for this doubting Thomas? That's craziness. Ophia.
I'm an artist as well as some other things, and I paint and draw, and people have often asked me throughout my life, like, how are you so good at this? How is this? This is amazing. I could never do that. And I'm like, you could do it. And I realized only in the last year or two that I needed to include telling people that this never comes out how I plan. Like, whatever I plan for a piece of art, it never comes out how I pictured it. And 99% of the time it comes out way cooler than I pictured it. But it's just, I understand that it's my image, like, via the filter of my hand or the brush or the color or whatever. So it's not just me, but and it comes out better, if I just, not get mad that it didn't do this, it looks better, so.
Right, that's why we start every day, today's a happy day, today's the best day ever. And then whatever happens is the best. Whatever happens is happy, because we've already set that up. When we get afraid, we try to hold on. And when we hold on, not only do we constrict our physical body that we talked about last week, but we constrict the creative process of our life. And so we hold on, clamp down, try to make it all look exactly the way I want it to look so that I can be okay, not realizing that all of this great stuff is right here. And sometimes if we will just let go, risk letting go of that. My good is not contingent upon that marker. Oh, look at all these people in my life. I didn't even see it because I was so focused on that marker. I don't even like that marker. It's a black marker. I'd rather have a purple marker. And I like you. See, but I couldn't see that when I was obsessing on the marker. Good. Didn't mean it. But I do love purple better. You remember the song, the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want.
Yeah.
If you try sometime, you just might find you get what you need. You don't get what you want, you don't get what you need. You get what you are. You get what you bring to your life. That's what you get. If you're getting something out of a relationship, out of a job, out of a circumstance, out of a day, you're getting from that exactly what you put into it. And so if you're not getting what you want out of it, It's because you didn't bring it and put it in there. If you bring it and put it in there, you will get it out of there. So you get what you are. And Ernest said if you want more out of life, you have to first become more. You have to be what you want, and then you have to put that into your life, and then you get it. And people go, oh, you're so lucky. Oh, this just happened. You must have been born with a silver spoon in your mouth. No, you created that inside of yourself. You used disciplined cause to create disciplined effect. You became that, you embodied it, you accepted it, and then you placed it in your life. And that's what you got. If you are in a life with people who are very loving around you, that's because you brought the love. If you're in a life with people who are very cranky around you, you brought the crankiness. And you can say, well, those people are just so cranky. Isn't it fascinating that to someone else they're so loving? It's because we are always getting back the reflection of our consciousness. And so when we bring a certain feeling, a certain possibility, a certain energy to our life, then we're going to get that back. And when we get it back, then it feels so right because we put it there. And you know, sometimes I've gotten back anger and resentment and criticism and all of that, and it felt right too, but not in a good way. But there was something very familiar about all of this coming back at me. And when I would get honest with myself, I would know I did that. I thought ill about that person, and then I got that multiplied abundant. I criticized that, and then I got that back multiplied abundantly. And if I don't want to have those circumstances in my life, I can change what I'm putting out, and I will get a different result in my life. I love this teaching because it gives us all the power. It says nobody can give you what you want, and nobody can take what you want away. It's not theirs, it's yours. And you cannot have what belongs to someone else. Isn't that great? You only get what is yours. And if you don't have it, it's not yours yet. So you have to make it yours inside of you. Never worry about taking something from someone. I mean, unless you're like being crazy and running people down and grabbing their purse in the parking lot or something like that. But if you're going for a promotion, if you're going for a sale, if you're going for something in life, go for it. They will find what is theirs by right of consciousness. You will find what is yours by right of consciousness. I know some people, and gender bias, sometimes this is more of a female thing, though not entirely, but there is a cultural training of pulling back. Don't win the race. Don't be too loud. Don't be too big. Don't be too bold. And for a lot of women, they've had to go beyond that cultural limitation, because if we continue to pull ourselves back, we're never going to go where we want to go and live the life that we want to live. And I'm sure that there are things that men have been raised with too, but I was particularly aware of the don't be too much, and I am too much. Some people think I'm just way too much for them. You know, you're the woman with the big hair and the big mouth. Yes, that's me. But I do that so that I can go beyond the limitations that are lurking around in my subjective mind saying, oh, you know, be nice, let them have it, let them go, you don't need that, you've got enough, you should just be happy with what you have, and you should sit down and be quiet. Now, what would happen if I sat down and was quiet? What would happen? What would happen to the center? What would happen to all the millions of people out there watching online? I can't sit down and be quiet because my whole shtick is to push forward, to have more. I want to go from 102,000 pages opened on our website to 250,000 pages open, to 1 million open, to 10 million open. I want to have so many people finding this teaching, and I don't care if it's a direct take on our website. Take the classes and share them amongst your friends. You know, duplicate them, send them out into the world, use them. I don't care how people get it, but what I want to do is I want to be able to push the person who is in a socioeconomic environment that they have absolutely no quote-unquote hope, that there's no way to take care of children, there is no food or clean water, and the guerrilla armies are around the corner. Just give me a second. I want to be able to push them into an idea that says it doesn't matter what the outside circumstances are, it only matters what's going on inside of us, and if I can discipline my cause, I can discipline my effect. And in that, we can create food, we can create water, we can create peace, we can create safety, we can create all kinds of amazing and wonderful things. But to do that, we have to push through our limitations that are already going on inside of us. And I love this teaching because it tells me that we can do that. Not just me, not just you, but anybody watching anywhere can change their experience. They can have miracles happen. They can have healings happen. They can change the tide of history by changing the tide of thought. And so when you think about this idea of the will of God, think about the idea that there is an infinite, absolute, creative cause that is particularly fond of you, that can't go against you because you are it. That love and joy and expansion, and not micromanaging football games. I'm talking about that expanding flow of love and joy, of health and wholeness, that is the only thing that life can do, is to move us forward, to provide all of the support in the world for that, and to allow us to move into realms heretofore unadventured. You know, I just think it is the kick-ass teaching of the world. Breezy.
I was just wondering how that fits in with where you've said before to do the thing, you let somebody in front of you in traffic and...
Well, that's being generous. That's not holding myself back.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, how that worked together, because it sounded like it was a little bit...
When I push somebody out of traffic, when I don't let somebody into traffic, it's from fear. Well, you can't have my space. That's my space. That's the one and only space in the universe. And that's my space. And if I don't get it, I'm not going to have anything. So I can't let you have it. Instead of, I have an abundance of parking spaces, of flows of traffic. I have so much that I can allow harmony and balance and peace and joy in my life. I have plenty. You can have one little coming into to merge. When I see people, I go, whoa, what a poverty consciousness. To think that not being able to merge in traffic is going to affect their state and their ability to be safe and happy and whole in life. That's a poverty consciousness. Ophia.
That is something I've noticed with myself too recently. I've always been a very skillful driver, but I'm really good at being efficient. But recently I've noticed myself more and more and getting calmer and stuff as it happens. It's fine if they go in there. It's fine as long as I leave early enough. Then I'll just enjoy the drive. One thing that really I remembered was I was at a Spiral Dynamics conference when I was in high school or something, and this woman was up there talking about how she was driving in traffic one day with her toddler in the back seat, 4-year-old, and she was getting all upset and angry and oh, this traffic is here, all these cars are in my way. And her daughter's like, Mommy, why are you getting so upset? And she was like, 'cause all this traffic, all this whatever. And the daughter looked around and just looked at her and goes, Mommy, we're the traffic.
Right.
So now I try and think of it more as in I am contributing to our whole organism's flow, by backing off, letting them in, speeding up to make sure I'm making room for
One of the things I teach people is how to bend time. You cannot bend time if you're upset. If you want to bend time, you have to be completely calm. And if you can move into that state of mind that says, I know I only have 4 minutes in the linear world, but I believe that I am always on time and I arrive at my destination by 6 o'clock with a minute to spare, whatever. So that leaves me 3 minutes. And for me, it's very helpful if you put away all timepieces. And then just know that you're always in your perfect and right place, you're always on time, and you move into a state of calmness, because then you are not fighting linear time, and you can play with time. I've bent time a lot, and you cannot be upset and bend time. As soon as you get upset, you're lost. But try it. Put your phone down. You know, if you've got a clock in your car, put a little piece of tape on it, and whatever you've got, your Google Watch or something, take it off. And just know that you're on time, that you're where you want to be. And I don't mean like, oh, well, I'm always in my perfect and right place, it's always the eternal now, but I'm supposed to be there at 5:45, I'm there at 5:45, I walk in the restaurant at 5:45, and I do that with ease and grace and love and harmony and joy. And then just continue to move in that frame of mind in peace, and watch yourself walk in the restaurant at 5:45 in ease and joy and harmony and love. It's fascinating because people think, oh, well, time keeps on ticking, you know. No, it doesn't. Time bends. Time flows. And you can make it do whatever you want. Hold on, Dan, RJ. You didn't have a
I'm
question?
so amazed.
Okay, Dan.
I've always found it interesting that when I'm really busy, hours seem like minutes.
Right,
And when nothing's going on, minutes seem like hours.
right, right.
Odd.
Time is very malleable. You know, and then there's that whole thing about being able to jump from one point in space to another point in space. It's called a quantum jump. It's a thing without traveling the distance between the 2 points.
I've done that.
Dimensions and that, yeah.
When you fell off that mountain,
Uh-huh.
yeah, even Jane has done this, quantum jumps. So to do that, you have to be outside of the space-time continuum. You leave it in one point, and you arrive at it at another point, and no time has elapsed, and no distance has been traveled. We've all been hypnotized to think that time and space are real. They're not real. We're focused in time and space. But time and space do not rule us. We are the ones who determine what our life will be, and that includes the time-space continuum. It includes the physical body. It includes all kinds of things. It includes our money, it includes our opportunity, it includes our state. It's all about us deciding how that's gonna be.
But, okay, I just real quick, the thing that happened when I was delivering Meals on Wheels, and this gentleman that I was delivering to was in his cabin, and the porch was a couple of feet off the ground. And so I handed the meal to him, and he lunged for it, and he started falling off this 4-foot drop off his porch. And I had my hand on the meal, and suddenly we both had our hands. I don't know what happened. We both had our hands on the meal, and I just sort of went in a circle, and we both ended up on our feet. And he looked at me and he said, well, that never happened to me before. But there was no time. I don't know how that happened, but I wish I could do it again.
But it was so impactful to you that you remember it vividly to this day.
Yeah.
A moment where the physical laws of science did not take effect, the man did not fall 4 feet, and somehow he gracefully went from the porch to the ground without a falling.
Yeah, and I thought he was gonna bash his head into the soil. I mean, he was just headed right for the
But he
ground.
didn't.
And then, but because he kept his hand on the package of food, and mine was there, and we just sort of, made a circle back into the air. But I've never been able to do it since. I'm just.
Some of those cosmic moments, they're just a gift. And they feel different than everyday reality.
Yeah.
Like, you know, something happened there.
Yeah.
I went through an intersection once with a truck coming at me, and I screamed. It was the middle of the night. My oldest grandson was being delivered 4 months premature. I was racing down to Orlando, and I'm going through this intersection, and a semi-truck ran the red light and was in front of me, and I screamed no, and then I was on the other side of the truck.
Yeah, that's
I was on the other side of the truck without having gone through the truck. I would have been dead. You know, and obviously that was not my choice in this lifetime to leave at that point, but there was no traveling from one side of the truck to the other side of the truck. And it almost happened to me or through me. It's not like I consciously said, I'm not gonna hit that truck or that truck's not gonna hit me. I screamed no, and then I was on the other side and the truck was still going behind me.
Yeah.
And those moments in life are transformative because we stepped out of normal reality and we stepped into something different. So when I talk about how we have legions of angels watching out for us, for me, that is the will of God. That is the entire force of the creative process of all of life, individualized at the point of me, with all of the support of that, lifting me up into greater levels of love and joy and happiness and prosperity and health and wholeness and success, because that's all that life can do at the point of any of us, is lift us through to greater levels of expansion. Otherwise, you don't have an infinite. You have a pretty big thing, but then it's got an edge where it stopped expanding. That's not an infinite. So the infinite must continue to expand, and one of the ways it expands is at the point of us. So you've got all of life, all of the universe, all of love, all of joy, expanding at the point of us in every second. It's really mind-boggling to me. It's so different from the old paradigm that says there's a God out there watching you to decide if you deserve to pay your rent. You know, it's just completely different. And if you think about this whole idea of oneness, in order for the oneness to exist, it must exist in its totality. It can't be against anything. Then that oneness must be being its oneness at every point. And what is the oneness? Oneness. It's love, it's joy, it's prosperity, it's health, it's wholeness, it's balance, it's harmony, it's peace. And so it has to be manifesting itself at the point of us. I think it's fantastic. And you should be jumping up and down in your chairs, man. This is good stuff. Anything else? Let's take a break.
Kill his wife now.
Come on back.
Keep it grateful for the love and Christ, the source and who he is. In the strongest place of deep love and gratitude.
So the energy was flying high tonight. How is your treatment work going, Ophia?
I was telling them, I think, and it gets better like every time. I think this was my favorite one. Like, and it was interesting. There's 3 of us, and last time we kind of tried like you treat that one, and we each kind of in a circle. But I was like, why don't we try? We both treat like one after the other, and then and just kind of see how the difference is. And it was really cool because like I started treating Anne, and then when I was done, RJ started. And we all 3 held hands, and RJ, I really liked what he added to mine, and it showed me like. And he also added, he didn't just say, and Anne is whatever he said, and Ophia is, like, he brought all of us into it. And, and it was really cool, like, you could almost feel, like, this energy circling through our hands kind of thing. It was just a really good, like, it was very cool, so.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Who else?
It was great. Knowing Troy was treating for me, I find that I get little chills that go over me. It's just, I remember them as a little kid. I used to get, when somebody would do something for me, I'd just tingle all over, like, and I get that. it's cool.
We are using words and thoughts as an avenue to use energy. And so yes, you can feel energy. And Ernest reminds us not to get too caught up in the special wooey feelings, because then we might go, oh, we didn't get any tingles, we didn't get any electric shocks through our hands, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. You don't have to have those, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I love that part of treatment work or spiritual practice. Haven't you been in meditation and have all of these experiences happen? So, ride that wild wave of the divine and on the way to manifesting your dreams. It seems like you're just better at it than you used to be. It seems like you're more comfortable with it. You can take the curveball of an additional person. We don't have an even number of people, so okay, we'll have 3 people do it, and you can work that out. You can work out having someone who doesn't know a lot show up and incorporate that. You guys have done very well with that. Are you feeling different? How are you at home when you're doing your treatment work for people? When you do this every day at home.
More comfortable.
You're more comfortable?
Yeah.
I get more of an effect here, personally. I think it's everybody's energy is doing it, so it kind of, amplifies it or
You can put
accelerates.
yourself back in the room from home.
That's true, yeah.
There's no time and space.
Mhm.
Isn't that cool?
Just transport yourself.
Yeah.
Just energetically put yourself back in the room at this time, and you'll feel it. Jane.
I worked with Deb, and the last time I worked with Deb was several years ago. But she went someplace, but she's come back now. And
We went to
she-
Kuwait.
Oh, wow.
Kuwait? Oh, golly.
Oh, God.
I actually, when I taught at UNCA, I had a student from Kuwait. And, that's a no, we'll talk.
What a wonderful circle that you two were treatment partners years ago, and now here you find yourself back in this room as treatment partners again.
Yeah. And Deb was wonderful.
She
But she
is.
was wonderful years ago, and she's still there.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Usually, if we were wonderful years ago, we're still going to be wonderful today. If we weren't wonderful years ago, it's iffy how we're going to be today. Who else? Who else? How are you doing, Elise?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like we've both been having some demonstrations and just continuing to do it.
Good. Good, good, good. Welcome home, Troy.
I'm finding that I need more of a sense of direction, a focal point. And where am I going? What do I want? What does my heart tell me? So I'm at the point right now where it's I've got all the mental work done, but now it's a matter of getting it down a little bit lower and feeling it and really understanding and so that the treatment will flow from within, not dependent on a piece of paper or a script, but I have to break out of that mold and so I will. But
And whatever words you use are the perfect and right words. It doesn't have to sound like Barbara or John sound. It doesn't have to even go in the same order or can go round in a circle. It can be any way you want it to be. Now, I don't know what Sally's gonna tell me. Barbara said, it can be any way I want it to be. Dan.
I've read the 5 Steps to Freedom. I've been here for 5 years. And I was working with Carrie, who's a spiritual mind practitioner. And she nailed it, of course. And I tend to try and condense it into its most basic form when I treat, and they're really short. But I also found that I'm throwing in this step that doesn't exist. I was kind of doing it differently than maybe the 5 steps of freedom, which I know you taught to John, and then he wrote a book about. So, you know, the lesson for me is that I need to go read that book again and be clear about the best way to be treating, and maybe I do need a little more wooey stuff in there and not so standard, but you know, this is a growth process, and I'm not afraid to say that I missed it.
I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
Did somebody else have their hand up when Dan did?
I
Yeah,
did ask Dan a
Amanda, and
question.
then if you have a question for Dan?
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing what that extra step was that you said you could add.
So I was doing, okay, God as I am. I know these things. And then I was just throwing in a thank you as the third step, and then going, and then I'm grateful, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so it is.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's
Same thing.
yeah, that's interesting for me, because that is something like when I hear someone in like a spiritual mind treatment or in general say, thank you, God, for me, that hits a nerve. Like that's, you know, back to the memory of like people trying to tell me God is external, is separate, you know. But it's interesting that it's for, you know, different people, like, yeah.
Great, Amanda.
I was just gonna say that it's been really nice to have different partners.
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to would get stuck on one person all the time. Not like
Yeah.
stuck with, it's like, I'm a person of, I sometimes wanna do the same, it's comfortable to
Mm-hmm.
be with the same person. So it's been nice to get pushed out of that and have to go do new things and
I think
hear
one
new
of the
words.
cool things about having a class structured like this, that we get to do treatment work with each other, is we get to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're saying, this is what's going on with me, it's an intimate sharing. And please know this, and then you move into this very open experience of treatment. It's very, very intimate and close, and I really value that part of the class every bit as much as the treatment part, where we are connecting and laughing and crying and touching and just being part of a bigger group of people. And you're right, I think it's nice that we have enough people that we can, if we want, we can go and share partners. Good, okay. Class has come to an end, take out what you're gonna give.
Come on, little lady.
Thank you for your support of this center, and those of you watching online, you can go on your YouTube page. In the upper right corner is a little blue P, and that clicks and takes you to our PayPal account. And you too can help support the wonderful work of Center for Spiritual Living Asheville in spreading science of mind literally around the world, so that every being on this planet can have access to the principles that unleash the power of creation. So thank you for all that you give. Thank you for everyone in this room, for the wonderful way in which you support this center, for the wonderful way that you are generous and giving. And so what I know is that God is the source of all supply, that we are beings of flow and energy and love and joy. I know that the only will of God is that we prosper, that we are blessed, and that we live the wonderful life that we are meant to live. And so I know that all of the universe lifts us and supports us in creating and experiencing that better and better and better life. I know that each of us comes together tonight to give this gift to this center, knowing that we all gather together in consciousness to provide a solid foundation from which these teachings can touch our lives, the lives of our classmates, and everyone who calls this center home. And so it's with great gratitude that we come together tonight to make this Center for Spiritual Living Asheville all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is. baskets is blessed. That something amazing happens when we open up and we give. Whether we're giving money, whether we're giving love, whether we're giving treatment, whether we're giving a smile or a hug, something amazing happens when we open up and give. And I see it in my mind's eye, since we are beings of light, as golden light pouring forth from each one of us, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us. And I know as Spirit moves in our lives, things happen. So right here and right now, each of us is touched, we are blessed, and we are healed. I know that that energy can't be locked up in a room, and so it goes on around this world to touch and to bless and to heal every being on this planet. Always here and always now, touching every one of us here tonight, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. I love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful